On June 9th, 1967, during the Six-Day War, Israel painted a few of their jets black and launched a false flag attack against the USS Liberty, which was a surveillance craft off the shore of Egypt. Israel wanted the United States to have justification for getting involved in their glorious war for greater Israel, a land grab opportunity for them, which they provoked and they started. They'll tell you they were the victims. Of course, they're the perpetual victims. But the perpetual victims had been painting and preparing the jets long before the Six-Day War started. So how does that equate to they were the victims? That goes to premeditation in my book and in a lot of people's books. This is not controversial. It is not a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. They have admitted it. They claimed it was a mistake, even though people leaked the radio communications between some of the pilots. There were 2, I think, or 3, and their command, telling them that the target that they had been sent out there to hit was in fact a U.S. vessel. And they were told to continue with their mission regardless. They could clearly see the U.S. flag flying off on the deck of the USS Liberty. 34 Americans were killed. 34 American sailors were killed. 171 more were wounded, and all of those who survived, including their captain, were instructed under threat of court-martial and prosecution to never talk about what happened that day to anyone. Family members, other sailors, other service members, God forbid the press. It was silenced. It was hushed up. They were supposed to sink it. They sent out 3, I believe, fighter jets painted black. And I think 3 torpedo boats. The vast majority, after about an hour of raining gunfire down from the air onto the deck of the Liberty, she didn't list like that. She listed like that because one of the torpedo boats fired a fucking torpedo into the side of one of our fucking surveillance ships. The question was, why was it sent there by itself? Why weren't fighters scrambled when they were calling for an hour that they were under attack off the coast of Egypt? Somebody in the upper echelon of the U.S. military and the Pentagon was in cahoots with the rabid messianic Zionists running Israel. They wanted it sunk. There are different versions of the story as to why the Israelis pulled off their attack rather than sinking it outright, because it was disabled and hobbled. As you can see, it's listing there. The story that I uncovered, that I believe, was that a Soviet vessel had been shadowing the Liberty and also been monitoring the developments between Egypt and Israel during the Six-Day War. That vessel was a submarine. And the submarine surfaced a couple hundred yards from where the attack was taking place. And once the Israelis knew that the Soviets knew, the gig was up. They weren't about to start a war with the Soviet Union. So that was it. I tell you this, and I remind you of this, because we have a situation developing right now, once again, in Israel, once again, involving conflict, a conflict that has been instigated by the Israelis against the surrounding nations. In this particular case, Hezbollah and Lebanese, and Iran. And this could, I believe, end up being a similar situation as to what happened with the USS Liberty. Hi, I'm Scott. Today is the 21st day of October, 2024. It is Monday, and it is 10:23-ish in the morning. On a nice day. I'm feeling better. Thank you very much. My voice is still kind of weak. Colds and me, we don't get along so well. I'm at that age. Plus, I've got issues with my lungs and all that crap. You don't hear about that shit. But I needed to make this video. I'll keep it short. This is just a what if, or it's a I get a bad feeling about this video, and I really, really do. A while ago, it was 2018, and all of a sudden there was this threat. Oh my God! Oh my God! There was a warning in Hawaii about an incoming missile attack from North Korea, if you remember all that. And I looked into it. And they said, oh, a guy pushed the wrong button and blah, 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 blah. That's not what happened. What happened was, and I covered this and I wrote a bunch about it. Here we have a couple things about it. And the people of, while peace proceeds on pace in Korea, the people of Hawaii were purposefully subjected to 38 minutes of terror. The false Hawaiian false alarm, the Aegis Ashore system, and a pending $2 billion contract. Shall we play a game? There's a bunch of articles I wrote on this. Incoming missile PSYOP on behalf of Aegis Ashore. There's a bunch of stuff I wrote on this. I'm not going to have, drag it all out for you again, but let me just briefly tell you what happened in 2018. We had a Japanese individual come by, the guy who's going to make the determination as to whether or not Japan, which had just changed their constitution to allow for the militarization of Japan again. What a great idea that is, huh? And the people didn't like it. The people of Japan didn't like it. They don't like us they don't like our bases there. Who could blame them? We bombed the shit out of 60 countries in 30 days with firebombs, wooden cities, and then we dropped 2 fucking atomic weapons just to test them out. One was plutonium, one was uranium. Let's just see what they do in real time. So you can imagine they don't want us anywhere near their fucking island, but of course we are. So they bring over the guy to Hawaii to witness the testing of a system, the Aegis Ashore system. Now, what is Aegis Ashore system? Aegis Ashore system is a defensive system, quote unquote, that supposedly will take control of all kinds of systems within its area of operation. They will take control of missile systems and cruise missile systems on board vessels that are within its area of control. They will take control of Patriot missile systems and THAAD missile systems, which is why I bring this up. They will also take control of the emergency response information for the cities and the towns within the area of its control. Aegis is like mother. in an alien movie. Mother is the overriding computer AI system. Aegis is the AI system, okay, that will take control of everything. And when there's a missile coming in, it will utilize the available cruise missile systems and defensive missile systems or defensive machine gun batteries on the vessels, the seagoing vessels, boats and shits, cruisers and things like that. And then it will also take control of the Patriot missile system and the THAAD missile system, which is a horrible system, by the way. It doesn't work well at all. In order to shoot down whatever the incoming missiles are. And simultaneously, it will sound the alarm for everybody in the area to get to the shelters and whatever. Right? Okay. That's the Aegis Ashore system. What happened that day in Hawaii... God damn it. What happened that day in Hawaii... You remember the story of the father who was stuffing his kid down in some kind of manhole in the fucking street down to the sewer systems? Because they have an air raid system there. It went off. And continued going off and continued going off. And to them, to all the people and the news agencies, there was a North Korean missile, a series of North Korean missiles on its way, flying over Japan and whatever the geography is, going to land in Hawaii. And people panicked, as they are prone to do when missiles come flying in. Turns out it was nothing. It wasn't even a mistake. The only mistake was when they were getting ready to run the drill to impress the Japanese guy so he would buy the fucking useless Aegis system. Turns out they forgot to disable the part of the system that would connect with civil authorities and give the warning that there was a fucking missile system, a missile battery coming in. They forgot to disable that. And so when they ran the drill, the pretend missiles came in, Aegis reacted with the fucking guns and the rockets and shit like that. But that thing went off, and dude threw a manhole open and tossed his fucking little daughter down into the lovely sewer system of Hawaii. It was a mistake. Turns out, a couple weeks later, they tested the same thing in Japan and did the same thing to the Japanese people. Therefore, was it really a mistake, or was it made to fucking continue? We were trying to demonize fucking North Korea when North Korea and South Korea were working on their sunshine policy, trying to reunite and mend relationships. We were doing everything we could after the Cheonin to try to break that up, because that's what we do. I tell you that so I can tell you this. Aegis sucks. They had tried it once before with legitimate fucking missiles being fired at something, a test area, and it missed. It sucked. It practically shot itself in the foot. And so, of course, we were trying to sell this billion-dollar system, $3 billion to Japan. I don't think they bought it. I think they ended up buying, instead of buying THAAD, I think they ended up buying the S-400 system. So, I don't know much, but I know a little bit about the history of THAAD and Aegis and all of that. I tell you that so I can tell you this. We are sending the THAAD missile system to Israel, to glorious Israel. Why is that? You might ask. They'd never requested THAAD in the past. THAAD doesn't work that well. Probably works on par with Iron Dome, but it really doesn't work that well. They don't want to spend the billions of dollars we give them on THAAD system, as expensive as THAAD is. So why are we sending it to them now? There's a good video here. I'll bring it up for you. Yeah, here's a couple of things I wrote about the Aegis Ashore system. My video was taken down by YouTube, by the way. So there's that. There's more articles I wrote on it. There's a good video here, and this is Mike Preisner and the good folks over at Breakthrough News. And they're talking about this THAAD system being sent into glorious Israel. What is the use of the THAAD system? Well, the Israelis aren't going to be able to man it and operate it. I'm sure there'll be Israelis, IDF soldiers there, maybe even trying to learn it. However, considering what's going on, they haven't got time to completely understand it and put it and utilize it to its best of whatever its capabilities are. So we are sending our troops along with THAAD to operate them. God damn it, have a listen to this.
And designed for like 90s era like Scud missiles. And so Iran, knowing that there's THAAD missile systems there, this is a really easy thing to kind of get around if you're trying to land hits on Israeli targets. What's not as easy to get around is hitting U.S. service members. And so there's been a lot of secrecy about where these THAAD missile systems are being deployed. There's a lot of movement of them around Israel. And so the main purpose of it, there's kind of twofold. I mean, one of them is to kind of literally be human shields. Like Iran does not want to hit U.S. soldiers because they do not want the escalation ladder to go up. They did their response. They said, this is it, as long as we are not hit back. By the U.S. sending soldiers there and saying, when we attack you, and you have to respond back, as you've said you would do, versus walking away as you pledged, you might hit an American soldier. And if you hit an American soldier, things are going to continue to get worse for you because the U.S. doctrine is, we got to respond if there's an American that's harmed. I mean, that's where it's been under the Biden administration.
That's a very important thing to remember, and that's a very important image to share at the same time. He's talking about that. Our doctrine is if an American soldier gets killed, we're going to respond.
But the other...
Unless, of course, it was the USS Liberty in 1967 on June the 9th. We didn't respond against the country that killed 34 and wounded 171 while attacking a U.S. surveillance vessel.
Side of it, other than just kind of the literal use of soldiers as human shields here, is it's like a propaganda and psychological operation purpose. It is for the United States and the White House in particular to say, it's not just about money that we will support Israel with. It's not just about weapons that we will support Israel with.
Right, it's blood and treasure. Now, those are his 2 points that he brings up, talking about why THAAD is going there and why we are manning the THAAD systems. One, he kind of dragged it out. One, human shields, and that the Iranians will not want to target the THAAD systems because they know they are manned by American soldiers. And two, it's symbolic. It's a symbolic gesture that we will not only spend our treasure defending you, we will also spend our blood defending you. This is Mike Preisner's 2 reasons why the THAAD systems are being just deployed with U.S. servicemen. Even though, as Mike Preisner accurately pointed out, unless you're talking about a Scud missile, THAAD's not useful at all against these newer fucking Iranian fucking missiles. The hypersonic ones and the ones that have irregular flight patterns. Those two things are accurate and to the point, kind of. There's a third option, and the third option is this. Israel has a long history, going back to its founding, of committing false flag attacks. Irgun, the Stern Gang, and others back in the day attacked Jewish neighborhoods in Egypt and in Iraq and Baghdad, bombed them, caused all kinds of problems. They attacked Jews. They attacked Jews because they wanted them to be afraid where they lived, and then told them, you'll be safe in Israel. They needed more Jews to move to Israel. So they carried out false flag attacks. Don't try to give me a strike on that. That's just a fact. That's history. They've carried out false flags for the decades since. And of course, the most important false flag that I can tell you in relation to the situation today with the THAAD systems being deployed to Israel is the USS Liberty. That was a false flag attack on U.S. servicemen. Where am I going with this? It is my concern that the THAAD systems are being deployed. Remember, Israel could have bought these decades ago, or a decade ago. They didn't. The THAAD systems are being deployed not because they will help protect glorious Israel, but because I believe they could be targets of false flag attacks. We've had our military in the last couple of years. I've covered several instances where the dreaded terrorists in Iraq, Syria, launched attacks at our bases because we didn't want to leave Syria, we didn't want to leave Iraq, we wanted to fucking re-engage with the terrorists in Iraq. They attacked bases of ours. They didn't attack the base. They had mortars and they deliberately shelled. These guys can hit a Volkswagen bus from 2 miles away with these mortars. They're pretty good with them, especially after they get one or two launched and they can zero in and they can, figure out what their trajectory is. But they didn't attack the base. They attacked the neighborhood beside the base. And of course, the reports were American contractors were killed. Oh my God, we got to go in there and fight. The contractors who were killed were Tunisians, Afghanis, people who worked on the base under a contract held with Wendy's, Burger King, Pizza Hut for $3, $4 a fucking day making food for U.S. soldiers. That's what they shelled with the mortars, not American servicemen and women inside the base. So, of course, the story was evil ISIS attacked a U.S. military base, killed fucking U.S. contractors. None of that happened. Well, they killed the contractors, but they were not Americans, and they were contractors who were serving pizza or something for lunch. That was a false flag attack. We do false flag attacks. We did a big one on September 11th, 2001, and we've done some ever since. I remind you of Barack Obama's red line. Who knows? We're not going to get involved in Syria militarily unless, of course, Assad were to attack his own people with, gas. 2 days later, Assad attacks his own people with gas. Turns out it was our fucking terrorist assets who were fighting against Assad, who we had launch their hell rockets, whatever those things were, the fucking hell cannons, the basically propane tanks filled with cyanide or some kind of fucking gas with little things welded to them, like flights, like on a dart. Turns out, it wasn't Assad who did it, it was us who did it. And that's the only reason Barack Obama didn't launch boots on the ground officially into Syria, because before they could justify and he could, get the country all whipped up to attack, the truth came out. We do that all the time. False flags are at this point in time, for the West, for glorious Israel, they are a given. Would Israel, at this point of desperation, conduct a false flag by the next time Iran is provoked into a response where they always target military targets? Would Israel launch rockets at our THAAD systems and try to kill U.S. service people? The answer is yes. They absolutely would, if they think it will bring the Americans into the war for them. Because remember, it's not going to just be Iran. Then it'll be Lebanon, it might be Jordan, it might certainly be Iraq, maybe Afghanistan. I mean, if that's what brings Americans into it, then they would certainly not be beyond doing that, because they're not going to be able to beat Iran by themselves unless they use their nukes. And if they use their nukes, the whole thing is up anyway. Okay? Now remember, one thing Mike Preisner points out in here is that we've had military fucking advisors, and even the head of fucking CENTCOM went down recently and was talking to the Israelis. And he's not there talking about, you need to fucking sign a peace deal. He's there to help them lay out the plans to carry out a fucking war, to expand the war. And of course, I remind you that what happened to the USS Liberty could not have happened if, for some reason, it hadn't been sent by itself, miles away from its convoy of other fucking ships and protection, to go surveil off the coast of fucking Egypt all by its little lonesome. What happened to the U.S. Liberty wouldn't have happened if, when they got the first fucking report of the Liberty being under attack, they had immediately launched planes to come in there, and there were aircraft carriers in the area. Our military leadership did not do either of those things. Our military leadership was on board with the sacrifice of the Liberty in order to help facilitate convincing the American people that we needed to engage alongside our ally in the region in the Six-Day War, which would have turned it into a much longer conflict. We had to have been on board. So again, the part of this that Mike Preisner misses, and he doesn't want to fucking address, is that given this history of false flag events, given the fact that it's false flags are commonly used by both the United States and the Israelis, and the fact that many of the false flag events have taken place recently. It's not like something that we used to do but we don't do anymore. And given the fact that the Americans right now are not on board with rushing into fucking a war with fucking Iran simply because Israel wants to steal land from fucking Gaza. The people of the United States are not on board with the Greater Israel Project, which, by the way, was a conspiracy theory that I was attacked for many, many times. That in Greater fucking Kurdistan, that I was attacked for many, many times years ago when I talked about it. Now it's commonplace. Everybody understands it. And that is why we are still watching this genocide take place in Gaza. I don't know. I can't tell you that that's what's going to happen. But I imagine that would be the... I hate to say this. It sounds grotesque and gruesome. But that would be the most useful the THAAD system could be to Israel. If all of a sudden the people of America are told 30 fucking U.S. soldiers were killed manning the THAAD systems trying to defend glorious Israel by the evil fucking Muslims in Iran, that will be huge. That would be huge. That would certainly convince a lot on the Republican right side, of course, the Trump side, that it's time that we jumped into a war with Iran. I really hope that that's not what the purpose of sending these soldiers is. And I certainly hope that calmer heads prevail. We have to look now and see, what does Israel do as provocation towards Iran once the Americans are in position and moving around and fucking with these THAAD systems. The Iranians are not just shooting rockets in the dark. These things, they know exactly what their targets are. They can see them in real time. From their own satellites, from their own surveillance drones, from their own surveillance planes. They can see them in real time. And they're probably getting intel from others, maybe China, maybe fucking Russia, maybe Pakistan. They would not target the THAAD systems because the THAAD systems are useless in defending against these newer rockets that Iran has. Useless, totally useless. So if anything were to happen to these THAAD systems and the American operators of such systems, I would bet my bottom dollar that the culprits aren't Muslim and they aren't from Iran. Anyway, I thank you for your time and talk to you next time. Bye.